Hi, this is Sue for Parkies and Me, my journey with Parkinson's. So today I thought I'd talk about being brave and what that means to me. So in the weekend I went shopping with my cousin and my uncle, and we went op shopping. And I have been recovering from a back operation, and I was walking with a walker. And my cousin said two things that I thought were rather nice. She turned to me and she said, "I'm very proud of you." And I said, "Why is that?" She said, "Because a lot of people like you who needed a walker and are relatively young, I'll take that relatively young, would be reluctant to be seen out in public with a walker, and you seem to be just going with it, and I'm just really proud of the way you've handled that." It was a very nice thing to hear, and I turned to her and I said, I did struggle with it at first, but then I realised if I didn't use the walker, basically I wouldn't be able to go anywhere and I'd be stuck. So it was a case of use the walker or be stuck at home. So I chose the walker. But I didn't bravely go bravely go where no man has gone before. I had some teething problems, and part of that was because I didn't want to be seen using a walker, mainly and actually wholly for the fact that I didn't want anybody to think it was due to my Parkinson's. I wasn't ready for that, and I'd only just retired in the May, and I didn't want people to see me and think, gosh, she's already deteriorated since she finished work. Her Parkinson's is really ramped up. And of course it hasn't. I haven't had any mobility problems with my Parkinson's whatsoever. So this is what having to use a walker because of my back problems has become quite unpalatable, and I feel like I'm being robbed of some of my ability to walk. But anyway, about being brave. So she described me as being brave because she said a lot of people that she's known may have benefited from a walker, but were too proud, didn't want to be seen with one, and just suffered through with the pain walking around. And I said, I soon figured out that I couldn't do that. I didn't want to be stuck at home. And my husband and I went out for lunch and then to do a little bit of shopping, and we were in a cafe, and I put my head in my hands and was looking down at the table. My husband said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm all right." I said, "I'm just trying to avoid making eye contact with a lady that's in the queue in the cafe here." And he said, "Why is that?" And I said, "I don't want her to think that this walker is because of my Parkinson's, but I also don't want to start the conversation in a cafe about, no, it's actually not my Parkinson's is fine, it's actually because I have a back injury." And I just wasn't up to having that conversation. And if we didn't have that conversation and they saw me, they would again think that I had to use that walker because of my Parkinson's. So yes, I avoided eye contact and we got away with it. Then we went into Farmers, which is a department store here, and blow me down, but there was not one but two people from my previous employment standing just past the doors as you come into the shop. So I put head down and I motored on as quickly as I could and tried to get around them, which I think I succeeded in doing. And then I hid behind some clothes racks for a while, hoping that they would disperse and go elsewhere, which I think they may have done, but I just kept a little bit of an eye out and scurried from clothing rack to clothing rack, so hoping that they didn't see me. Yeah, that wasn't particularly brave, and that was at the beginning when I didn't want anybody to see me, and after a while I just thought, oh bugger it, I need the walker. For whatever reason, I need the walker, so I chose to do it. Again, about being brave, those of us with this condition have to be brave or we'll fall apart. I can't let myself go forth and think about the future too much because I wouldn't be brave. It would be too hard. I choose to live in the moment, to enjoy the moment, and try to find joyful moments regularly, so that buoys me up. In those joyful moments are a lot to do with my family, my husband, my adult children, my grandchildren, my cousin, my uncle. People in my family that I'm very fond of, they bring me joy. And yes, being brave is part of the package. If you're not brave, you're not really cut out for this Parkinson's life. It's a bit of a tough one. And you can be brave in so many ways. Sometimes when you wake up in the morning, you just want to hide under the duvet, and the world and being out in the world are just too much. Being brave can just be getting out of bed and getting dressed and getting to work. That might just be the bravest thing you do that day, and just tough your way through it. Other days it could be that you wake up and you think, I know it would be best if I went to work and surrounded myself with people and took my mind off things, but today I need to say it's all too hard. It's too hard, I can't do it. I need to stay in bed or at home at the very least. And maybe have a jammy day. That's what my daughter and her girls do. They have a jammy day from time to time, and they just stay in their PJs all day, and they just blob, watch movies, eat crap, and that's just their way of checking out for a while and just practicing some self-care. And self-care is very important. As brave as we all need to be, we also need to acknowledge how we're feeling. And sometimes it is just taking your mind off things by spending time with people and just watching rubbish, eating crap. And that might be your way to just check out for a while. So I said that this having to use a walker has been a test run for later down the track, for I in all likelihood will need a walker one day. And so I've been able to get a taste of what it's like trying to get in and out of cafes sometimes with heavy glass doors that are really hard to manoeuvre when you've got a walker, and sometimes astounded at the people that don't even think to hold that door open for you when they know it would be difficult. Or going to disabled toilets, and you've got a heavy door to open to get through to the sort of little hallway that lead to those toilets. A heavy door when you've got a walker or when you've got a wheelchair and you're trying to access an accessible toilet, it's not very accessible. And sometimes being brave is saying, hey look, could you give me a hand with this? And asking somebody to hold the door open, not suffering in silence. We are all brave. We're brave in different ways. Facing this thing, not facing this thing sometimes, hiding under the duvet and admitting that this is tough. That's being brave. All of us, those of us with Parkinson's, those of us who care or are carers, those of us who are family and friends, we all need to be brave with this Parkinson's life, because it's tough and it will get tougher. But I choose to tough it out by not looking too far into the future and living in the now as much as possible. The other thing that I've noticed is I'm astounded by the number of people and the number of times that I've gone to use a disabled toilet. And if you've got a walker, you need it with you. You can't leave it outside the door. So you need to use a disabled toilet. And I've been astounded when we've gone to our local club that we're members of, that there have been people, while I've been waiting, that come out of that disabled toilet, clearly don't need it, and go, oh sorry, as they walk past. And I feel like saying to them, did you need to do that? Surely you could have waited for another one. But I didn't. Perhaps I should have. So I've talked about being brave before, and I will probably talk about it again, because it is part of our lives. We have to be brave. We have to tough it out, at least on the surface of it. We have to try. I think we have to try. I can't tell anybody what they need to do, what I feel they need to do. People need to decide for themselves how they get through this. But I do feel one of the bravest things that you can do is to reach out and say, hey, I'm not coping. I need help. I need someone to talk to. We've spoken before about accessing groups, peer support groups, and sometimes that's a tough thing to go for, to attend, because sometimes being brave is acknowledging that you actually have this thing called Parkinson's, and publicly doing that by going to a group of people who are all either with Parkinson's or with people who have Parkinson's. And when I was a social worker, we used to talk about the ripple effect of some things in our lives. When you have Parkinson's, it's like dropping a stone into a pond, and the ripples that come out from that stone is the effect of the Parkinson's. spreading throughout the people in your life, because you do not walk this alone. Many of us have people who care about us. Many of us have people we care about, whether we see them or not. Very often they are affected as we are. So sometimes for me, being brave is opening myself to people by doing this podcast, opening myself to doing the blog and talking about my life, talking about how it affects me, how it affects my husband, and sharing that so that people can know that there is someone that understands. I hope by sharing my thoughts, my feelings, my experiences in this podcast and in my blog that I help people. And I would like to hear from anybody that it does help. If this podcast or these podcasts speak to you, if you get something from it, I would love for you to make a comment, just so I know that there are people out there listening, that this is all worthwhile. My sharing, my journey, my being brave to talk in this podcast. This has been Sue for Parkies and Me, My Journey with Parkinson's. Kia kaha, be strong, be brave, be you.